Hi, I'm Brian Lord, President of Premier Speakers Bureau, and welcome to Free Virtual Fridays. Our guest this week is Jeanne Bliss, who is a customer experience expert. Jeanne has been the CCO, Chief Customer Officer, at a number of top companies, including Microsoft, Coldwell Banker, Allstate, and Land's End. She's speaking today on the topic of her book, Would You Do That to Your Mother? Earlier this summer, Jeanne did an amazing job of customizing and doing a great virtual event for one of our clients. And after that, we want to make sure that we got her on the schedule. So Jeanne, thank you so much for joining us for Free Virtual Friday.
Brian, it's so good to be with you and to get to spend some time to everybody. I am going to share my screen. I'm going to do some slides for you, a little taste of the content from this book, which you can think of as a fast track for taking the four key actions that will elevate your company in the marketplace and show the kind of people you are. So here we go. Okay. The lessons we learned as kids stick with us. And often they have the faces of the people that we admire all over them. Their guidance, their rules, their sayings, they're still in our heads. We were taught to be kind, to trust each other, and to play nice in that sandbox. And that guidance, those rules, are some of the most important for us for how to live our life. It's also some of the most important guidance that we can take for how to behave in business. The most admired companies that grow most ardently from customers and employees who love them do so by removing practices that inhibit the delivery of care or prohibiting them from acting in good conscience. They establish balanced relationships with their customers, their employees, and their partners, and they honor the human at the end of their decision. And they enable people to act at work like they act at home, like they were raised. I was raised Italian. Can we get any more Italian than this? The third of 7 kids, Brian. We lived a loud and a crazy life. But my parents' actions, more than their words, showed us the path to follow. My mom, Lydia, on the left here, would stay up all night long making teeny tiny Barbie doll dresses for my sisters and I, and homemade Halloween costumes for the 7 of us. My grandma, Ermelinda, in the middle, the woman never sat at a meal. Instead, she would stand behind us, hovering with huge platters of food, plopping it onto our plate, whether we wanted it or not, saying, "Manja, manja, eat, eat." My grandma, Virginia, my mom's mom on the right, would roll out homemade ravioli every Christmas. Everything's about food. I had a little stool I sat on, and I watched her while she rolled the dough and rolled the dough. And sometimes I also saw her throw the complete mound of dough away because it wasn't exactly right. These women were perfectionists. They thought of us first. The people in our life who we look to, that's what they do. And the companies that we admire the most and give our money to, especially in this time, what we're seeing is recovery comes from humanity, from honoring customers' lives by taking care of and helping them achieve their goals, and by recalibrating what people need now. So what we're going to do is walk through the 4 areas of business that will elevate your organization and your people in the marketplace. Enable your people to live with what I call congruence of heart, what they know is right, and habit, enabling them to thrive by delivering value. Build in respect delivery. I call this, don't make me feed you soap, as my mother would say. Make it easy to do business with you. Start with your customers' goals and rebuild your operation so they can say what they've achieved from you. And take the high road. Wire in bravery in how you lead to stand up and above other organizations. Build the non-negotiables about how you will and how you will not grow your business. A little while after Indra Nooyi was named the CEO of PepsiCo, she went back to India to visit her mother. And her mom said to her, "Indra, wear something nice," which she did. And she said, "Indra, please have a seat on my couch here," which of course she did. And a line of people entered Indra Nooyi's mother's home. And of course, they welcomed Indra and congratulated her. But then they went to her mom and congratulated her for raising a daughter who would become CEO. Now here's Indra Nooyi watching this, and she's such a reflective human. She sat there and thought to herself, you know, this makes perfect sense because it's my mom and my dad and how they raised me and the values that they've given me that is enabling me to be the kind of leader I am today. And so she started a practice that she encourages all leaders to do after that trip. She handwrites a letter to the moms and the dads of her top leaders saying, thank you for the gift of your child to our company. Thank you for raising them the way that you did so that we can raise our own people and show up in the marketplace differently. What Nooyi does, and what all the companies that are most admired, and especially in this time, reaching out with their humanity, cracking the code of what they will and will not do, is they first enable their people to thrive. They put them in a position to grow by doing the right thing and delivering value, being a part of something greater than themselves. So here comes the mom questions. Would you roll your mom into a hospital hallway and then leave her there? Well, you know you wouldn't. But this kind of thing happens in every single one of our businesses because we put people in buckets of doing actions, ticking them off of a sheet. In this instant, for example, a very good tech probably went into your mom's room and rolled her into the hallway outside of the place where she needed to get her test because that was his task. And he or she left her there. Then the tech came out, rolled your mom in, may have had a timer timing how long they could take, and rolled your mom back into the hallway where she sat. This is because in our quest to become efficient, sometimes we wire the humanity out of the process. We forget to give people the ability to rise, to show up differently in the way that they deliver the work that they do. And what's important here is also that as technology has swung and become such an important part of our lives, that we also need to wire that humanity into it. Yes, we can be efficient, but it's how we show up as humans and connect and combine high tech with high touch that will set you apart. You know, yes, if you're lucky, your cable guy can show you and on a little app when he'll be there, but it's the man or the woman and how they show up at your house, if they wear booties on their feet, and how they navigate your furniture that tell you the kind of mom they've got. In 2007, Toby Cosgrove, the CEO of Cleveland Clinic, brought all of his people together. And he said to them, there were thousands of them, he said to them, you know, we technically do our work well, but people don't like us very much. And from that moment on, Cleveland Clinic started doing the actions that honestly don't exist in a lot of these transformations. We look at work as fixing problems, but what we need to start with is enabling our people to deliver care. So Cleveland Clinic did three things. The first thing was they created a no passing rule, which means that little call light outside of anybody's room, everyone in the hospital had a requirement to go into the room and take care of the human in the bed, no matter what their job. If you were delivering flowers, if you were a janitor, if you were a doctor or a nurse, someone delivering laundry, it was your job to take care of the human. The second thing they did was elevated everybody's role to caregiver. So that means if you're bringing in sheets and you see somebody's pillows need fluffing, care for the human. And then the third thing they did was connect the silos. They now travel to patients' rooms in a connected group to take care of the human and not just to take care of the action item. This has made them a highly recommended hospital, admired, even beloved, and number 2 in the US News and World Report ratings. So do you show up as a caring company? Do you connect caring across your organization, no matter who the person is? A lot of times we inadvertently deliver an it depends experience to a customer, depending on the day, the person, the hour, the channel, but our goal is to show up caring. What we know in these times of the pandemic and in business is that these are the things that will set you apart. Okay, ready? Raise your hand if your mom ever washed your mouth out with soap or threatened to do that to you. This second part is about getting rid of those things that make it hard to do business with us. As my mom would say, the soapy moments that create waiting, concern, and fear, and will define your business by customers as the work that it takes to get service or an experience for you versus the experience you actually delivered. In fact, Siegel and Gale tells us that we are leaving almost $86 billion on the table by not delivering what I call respect. Building a respect delivery machine around the operation of our business that says we respect your time, we respect who you are, we respect your choices. In fact, one of the most important things is about knowing the customer. What we know now is if we don't connect the information and help our front line through the middle of the organization, our sales force, know your customer and define your services to them, people will walk. So would you make your mom keep reintroducing herself to you? You wouldn't. But again, these are the things that we inadvertently do inside of our business because we're working hard, but we're working hard separately. What you see in all of these examples and this work is the deliberateness of leaders to lead their organization to a place of differentiation. And that's actually what Stitch Fix does. For those of you who don't know Stitch Fix, you can think about Stitch Fix as the Netflix of clothes. They put packages of clothing together, little outfits for you, if you don't like doing it yourself. Now they have made We Know You their growth engine. And here's what they do. Number one, they have you fill out a form talking about not the clothes you want, but the life you lead. Interesting. The second thing they do is they actually have you send in your Pinterest pins, if that's something you do. And then they wire in AI. Now, there's a lot of talk about AI or artificial intelligence. For me, the reason to know and have AI is to build in the respect of we know you, so we can customize. What they do there now is they start to build this dossier of others who have the same interests and needs and put together similar outfits. But the proof in the pudding of the humanity that they deliver is through the 4,000 stylists who then take that information and customize it. For example, my girlfriend Mindy was going through breast cancer and she sent her stylist a note saying, I need some comfy clothes for the next couple months as I go through all of this. And of course, that's what her box contained, but also a bouquet of flowers came the next day. So do your customers feel that you know them, that you have built your operation, your people, your humanity around knowing them and their lives? Are you going out, for example, to your customers right now, and instead of validating how you're doing, understand how they're feeling, know what they need? These are the things that we're seeing that break an organization and its people through and will keep a memory of who you are and what you value. What we know is interesting is that the companies who grow more than others recognize this really interesting fact, which is to achieve their goals, they need to first enable their customers to achieve theirs. Now, this is paradoxical because almost every organization frequently will build their case study around their purpose, around what they want to get from customers. But when you flip it and say, what goals do we want customers to say they can achieve because we're working with them, that's when you earn admirable growth. And that's when you change the culture of your organization. In fact, often changing the culture is about starting with the emotion and understanding the emotion that the customer goes through. We know that we earn over 3 times a recommendation from an organization when you start with the emotion and you innovate starting with that. And it can lead to even an 85% increase in sales. So would you turn down your mom's warranty claim 3 days out of warranty? You know that you wouldn't, but we inadvertently don't inventory all of those vulnerable moments in our customers' lives when they need exceptions because something's happened. And we also don't automatically and in a predictive way give our people permission to make the call. This is why I love what Alaska Airlines does. They've actually built what they call a We Trust You toolkit. It's an app, again, this beautiful blend between high tech and high touch. They talk to all their people, and you can do this too. In about 20 minutes, you can probably inventory all the exceptions that customers need because they've hit a vulnerable moment. Then work with your people to come up with actions they can take without touching the desk, without asking for permission. And that's what they've done in Alaska. Their CEO says, look, we know that in the moment, you have more power to read the situation. And we want you to make the call. You own that moment. And that's what drives this loyalty that they have and this admiration that they have for how they conduct themselves in business. So do you know your customer vulnerability moments? And again, this is about proactively building in humanity, building in the ability for your people to make the call in the moment. You also should grow your business by deeply, deeply understanding lives. As I mentioned, a lot of our surveys right now are validating what was important last year. We now need to go out instead and understand what's going on this year. For example, one of my favorite stories is about Careem, the Uber of the Middle East. Now, what they found was that their ridership was going down. And instead of just sending out a survey, they went out and visited with their customers, followed them home, not in a creepy way, to find out what was happening. Well, what was happening was they were having children. If you have a child you bring into a car, you need to have a car seat. So they created what they call Careem Kids. And again, it's the blend. It's on the app. You push Careem Kids and you get a car with a car seat, but also a driver who likes children. Now, the final thing is about growing through admirable acts of your leadership. What we know, especially now, is that our people and our customers are watching if we're acting with our values. Are we choosing to grow? I call this really building your set of conditions for growing. You know, who among us, for example, loves cracking open a $7 bottle of water in a hotel room when we get back to them? And this is somebody who I love to tell a story about because this is how he leads. Nostalgic for his mom's Turkish yogurt. In 2007, Hamdi Lukaya took out a loan and bought an old craft yogurt plant. And he named his yogurt Chobani, which means shepherd. Now, what Hamdi Lukaya did from the very beginning was do much more than just create yogurt. He wanted to create an environment of people building a great product, but also great caring humans that bring something into the marketplace. In the very beginning, he gave 10% of the stock to the employees. And in the first 3 and 4 years of this business, if the phone rang, this guy answered the majority of the calls. What's interesting is when this started, we were all like, Greek yogurt, what's Greek about it? But now Greek yogurt is the #1 yogurt in the marketplace. And guess who has the #1 position? How you lead has everything to do with how you will grow. But then sometimes there's this. In every single one of our relationships that we have between a company and a customer, it starts because a customer chose to trust that company or that person. We trust realtors to help us find a home. We trust bankers to help us with our money. We trust healthcare workers to make us better again. But sometimes it doesn't feel like that trust is reciprocal. Lemonade Insurance, which is a startup for sure, they are shifting the equation of the insurance business, built from the very beginning a model that embeds trust, cooperation, and community. #1, they give you a transparent fee. Everything is very simple. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. They solve your claims in about 5 minutes by using an app. And then the thing that they do that had me giggling when I found this story is that when you file your claim, you actually have to do what they call an honesty pledge. On the app, you put your phone in that circle and you say, I promise that this lamp that I'm asking you to replace really cost $50 or whatever. So help me, mom. Trust given is trust received. So does two-way trust define your actions? You know, our responsibility really is simple. It's to improve lives. How we choose to correct something that goes wrong, how steadfast we are in delivering the goods, ensuring quality, and giving our people what they need sends a signal to the marketplace, to our employees, and to our customers about who we are and what we value. So choose as you enable your people to rise, as you get rid of the hard things that make it difficult for your customers to get things done, as you rebuild your operation based on customers' goals, and as you make those decisions that elevate who you are in the marketplace. Think about that. These are the things that will make you grow. And another simple question you can constantly ask yourself as you're making decisions: would you do that to your mother? That's it for me, Brian, on my prepared things. I think I'll just go back so we can have a conversation.
Yes, well, thank you. First of all, thanks so much for sharing that. And for those who are watching, if you have any questions, definitely put those out there. Jeanne will be happy to answer them.
You bet.
So the first question we have is from Mark Lang. So who you know from March.
Yeah.
So how do you see the best companies establish customer-oriented metrics?
The metric that we are really working with people on is what I call honoring the customer as the asset of the business. And that is about, Brian, first, customers voting with their feet by what they did as an outcome of the experience you delivered versus what they say they're going to do in a survey. And this is math. How many new customers did we bring in this past month or quarter or year? And I want you to use whole numbers, not retention rates, because retention rates give you that false positive. I also, you know, I'm Italian, want to give you something I call it agita, sick in the belly, about imagining these people leaving your business. So we brought in 10,000 new, yay, here's how good we are at sales. But in that same month or quarter or year, we lost 5,000 worth 6x those same people. That's your net customer asset growth. That connects this work to ROI, gives you the money bell to ring, and now you're on your way, because our work is about growth. It's about leading the business to unparalleled growth and to admirable growth.
So sort of follow-up, how can you convince a numbers-driven person that emotional things like respect and caring matter?
Well, what we're able to do, you know, first of all, the first thing that we do when we do this work is we get the CFO in there with us, crunching those numbers on the customer asset, and that makes them a believer. But then for companies where you're very operational, I learned this at Allstate, where I was the first chief customer officer, we built what I call the defector pipeline. So instead of, you know, some people, moments of truth isn't going to be it for them, so you need to then turn it. We identified those inflection points where if you don't deliver, you have people who are more likely to leave. So for example, if you're not explaining the policy right, you're going to have people defecting. If you don't respect their time, and you can actually create parallels between actions and behavior.
How has the role of customer service or customer experience changed during COVID?
It's great. You know, what's interesting, I don't want to say it's great, but in a weird way, 90% of the transformations that I've been a part of since 2002 often start with a survey and whack-a-moling problems away, which is interesting, but that gives us a false positive, because what we're seeing is a list of actions from every silo, and we're defining action by the inventory of projects, and the customer doesn't see it. What we're seeing now is we're starting with humanity. CEOs sitting on couches in sweaters, talking to people. We're breaking the block down of the survey questions. A lot of my clients, I'm asking them to put those on hold, and instead let's do Zoom calls with 10 and 15 customers and understand what you need in your business and where we can focus. And what it's doing, Brian, is it's shifting the organization to be led versus in that tactical warfare that sometimes occurs. And that's really what we've always yearned for. Customer experience, to me, is about growth and admiration. And this is giving us an opportunity. Here's the key, though. Let's not let that get away when we're over this, right? Keep that being wired into our behavior.
How do you build in respect for a customer?
Respect delivery is important, and that's around recognizing that at these key inflection points, are we building for what they need or for what we need? So for example, when I was working with Bombardier Aerospace, the part of the organization that makes planes for high wealth individuals, they wanted to measure the service and parts they sold. And I said, you know, that's interesting, but that's what we care about. You know what these people care about? The keep me flying experience. So do we have our pilots all together? Are our planes always serviced correctly? If we have to go down in an unscheduled stop, do we have a concierge who talks to them? And instead of measuring how many parts we're selling, which is what we care about, are we respecting the customer and instead measuring the number of days on the ground they didn't want to be on the ground? That forces respect.
All right, so last question here.
Sure.
We're just about out of time, so last question here.
Okay.
What made you start doing comic strips? How long have you been doing them?
Oh, so when I did the mom book, you know, this is my fourth book. I had a dog book and a mom book. I don't know what's up with that. I really wanted this book to be a fast track for people. And I call this book Tough Love Wrapped in Velvet. And, you know, what better than creating a little tongue in cheek? And it's a fast learning element. In fact, on my website, you can download these as huddle cards to work in your organization. So that's why.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Jeanne, thank you so much for sharing this story. I love it. I loved a lot of those examples. I love, you know, the lemonade and just all the different things you brought in for customer care and, you know, from hospitals to everywhere else. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing that message with us.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Thank you. And so thank you to everyone for tuning in. Don't forget, so next week we've got Mick Ebeling of Not Impossible Labs, who will be here with us. He will be speaking on Friday, October 2nd at noon Eastern. You can go ahead and register for that at freevirtualfridays.com. So on behalf of premier speakers and national speakers, thank you so much for joining us for Free Virtual Fridays.